Hello, and welcome to the information presentation for the 2024 WA Resident Medical Officer and Service Medical Registrar Centralised Recruitment. My name is Alina Varghese. I'm the Acting Senior Program Officer at the Office of the Chief Medical Officer, Medical Workforce Unit. I'll be helping you navigate through this presentation today, so let's get started. These are the topics that will be covered in this presentation today, and we have a few important speakers who will be joining us to provide you some valuable information. First off, I'll be providing you an overview of the centralized recruitment process and how it works. Then we have the Postgraduate Medical Council of WA Junior Medical Officer Forum Education Representatives, Dr. Dashma Shron and Dr. Marcel Nejutian, who will be walking you through the important application documents such as CV, cover letter, and selection criteria. Then we'll have a quick look at referee requests and references and how they process through this recruitment. And then we'll have Cassie McIntyre from the WA Country Health Service, who will be providing you some information regarding rural pathways and rotations available through this process. And finally, I'll be giving you a brief overview of other recruitment processes and closing this session with important contact details. So a little bit about the positions within this recruitment. This is a centralized recruitment pool for fixed-term full-time and fixed-term part-time appointments for the resident medical officer and service medical registrar positions for the 2024 clinical year. The positions will be commencing on 15th January 2024 onwards for the resident medical officer positions and 5th February 2024 onwards for the service medical registrar positions. The salary for the positions are as stated on the screen and on the advertisement. The rates are inclusive of base salary plus 11% superannuation and professional development allowance. The salary ranges may be different if you're employed through Joondalup Health Campus or St. John of God Healthcare. It is very important that you read through the advertisement carefully and access the key important documents such as application guide, application selection criteria, and job description forms, as they provide key guidance on how to apply and navigate through the MedJobs WA portal. All applications must be submitted through MedJobs WA, and you can access MedJobs WA portal by scanning the QR code below. So here are the participating health service providers and the positions they're recruiting to through this centralized recruitment process. You can select 3 preferences when applying through this process. If the position you're wanting to apply for isn't listed here, it is best to check on MedJobs WA website to see if it's being advertised separately. For this centralized recruitment process, the participating health service providers, who were listed on the previous slide, have collectively agreed and set this minimum eligibility criteria for the resident medical officer and service medical registrar positions being recruited to through this process. It is important to note that this minimum eligibility criteria is only set for this annual campaign and for our mid-year intake. Other resident medical officer and service medical registrar positions may be advertised outside of the centralized recruitment and may have different eligibility criteria. So for this centralized recruitment process, you must be eligible for registration with the Medical Board of Australia, you must be eligible to work in Australia, and you must have worked for a minimum of 6 months as a registered medical practitioner in an Australian hospital or comparable hospital setting within the last 3 years. Comparable hospital settings are listed on the table on the screen. It is important to note that if you do not meet this minimum eligibility criteria, your application will be considered ineligible and will not progress further through the assessment process. Applicants for the centralized recruitment process fall into 3 categories. Applicants who hold a current 3-year WA Health contract and want to stay with that employer, these are known as option 1s. Applicants who hold a current 3-year WA Health contract but want to change to a different hospital, these are known as option 2s. And applicants who do not hold a current contract, these are known as option 3s. Option 1s. These are the 2022 or 2023 interns who are on a 3-year WA Health contract and wish to remain with their current employer. For example, you are an intern employed by WA Country Health Service on a 3-year contract and wish to remain with WACS as an RMO. If you fall into this category, you will need to log into your MedJobs WA account, confirm your contact details are correct, click Apply Now. On the application, click the first option that you wish to remain at your current health site. No referees, CV, or selection criteria need to be attached. Ensure you click Submit so your intentions are lodged in the system. It is important to note that if you are a current intern or RMO, you can update your MedJobs WA profile to have the current email address. A lot of applicants use the university email when applying for the internship, and when getting to apply for the RMO positions, they make a new profile. This means that they are forced by the system to apply in full because MedJobs WA think that they are a new applicant in the system. So do not make a new profile and make it easier on yourself by updating your current profile. Option 2. These are the 2022 or 2023 interns who are on a 3-year contract and wish to apply to transfer to a different employing health service. If you fall into this category, you will need to log into your MedJobs WA account, confirm your contact details, and click Apply Now. On the application, select the second option that you wish to apply to a different health site. You will be then prompted to complete a full application, including all the required documents, CV, cover letter, and selection criteria, and ensure you click Submit so your application is lodged on the system. Option 3. These are the applicants who do not hold a current 3-year WA Health contract with Fiona Stanley, Royal Perth, Sir Charles Gardner, or the WA Country Health Service. If you fall into this category, you will be directed to complete a full application on MedJobs WA. So these are the steps you will need to take. Log into MedJobs WA, confirm your contact details, and click Apply Now. You will be prompted to complete the full application in MedJobs WA, so fill out the application in full and ensure all your required documents are completed and ready to be attached. Once your entire application is complete, please make sure to click Submit so that your application is lodged in the system. Option 3s and Option 2s will be required to complete an application in full. And one of the key documents to prepare for this application is the response to the application selection criteria. In the application process, you can choose 3 preferences, and you will need to address all the relevant selection criteria for each of your preferences. For example, if the 3 preferences are RMO position with Perth Children's Hospital, RMO position with Sir Charles Gardner Osborne Park Healthcare Group, and SMR position with Rockingham Peel Group, then these are the selection criteria that need to be addressed. Foundation criteria 1 to 6 for all positions, PCH specific criteria 7E and 7F for the PCH RMO position, and the SMR criteria 8 and 9 for the SMR position with Rockingham Peel Group. For this centralized recruitment process, you get to submit 1 application with 3 preferences across the RMO and SMR positions listed previously. A range of split contract options are also available for RMO positions within this annual campaign. This is an infographic of how the application process works. So each applicant submits 1 application with 3 preferences. All applicants will be then assessed by the internal eligibility panel here at the Office of the Chief Medical Officer, and once deemed eligible to apply, they are assessed for suitability to the pool by the first preference hospital. For example, if you select a resident medical officer position at Sir Charles Gardner Hospital as your first preference, then the selection panel at this site will review your application for suitability and deem you either suitable or unsuitable. All applicants will be notified of the outcomes of their application. Suitable applicants will then proceed to first round offers. When the first round offers commences, only your first preference hospital is able to access your application and make an offer to you. When the second round offer commences, your application will be swapped to your second preference hospital for their consideration. That is if you did not get an offer in the first round. In the final round, the pool becomes a general pool and all applications are visible to all participating health services. This part of the recruitment process lasts until the pool closes, and after that, no more appointments can be made. So here are some important dates for this recruitment process. The applications open on Friday 19th of May 2023, so be sure to go onto the MedJobs WA website and check out the advertisement. The applications will remain open until 20th of June 2023, closing at 12 PM sharp Australian Western Standard Time. Assessment and selections begin the day after, on Wednesday, the 21st of June 2023, and this is where we will do our eligibility screening and assessment for suitability. Once we have received all the assessments back from each of the sites, we will then create the suitable pool on Monday, the 24th of July 2023. Following this, the breach period will commence and it will provide an opportunity for unsuccessful applicants to obtain feedback on their application. This will go from Tuesday, the 25th of July to Friday, the 28th of July 2023. First round offers will then commence on Monday, the 14th of August 2023, and the offers will be made on a semi-regular basis up until the closure of the pool on Friday, the 13th of October 2023. This centralized recruitment campaign is advertised on MedJobs WA, Jobs WA Board, and a range of other advertising platforms. However, as mentioned previously, applications are only accepted through the MedJobs WA portal. We cannot accept emailed applications. The application guide can be found on the MedJobs WA advertisement. This guide contains a lot of in-depth information and FAQs about the process and is a really useful document to refer to throughout the whole recruitment process. I recommend you to save a copy onto your computer so you can easily refer to it once the ad is closed. The closed advertisement will still be available, but you will need to hunt for it in the closed section on MedJobs WA. Let's have a quick look at the application process through the MedJobs WA portal. When you sign into the MedJobs WA portal and click Apply, the system will progress you through the application. Parts of the application include your personal details such as contact details and residency status, your declaration that you meet the eligibility criteria, your 3 hospital preferences, as well as your preferred contract length and starting date. In this section, you can also request a split contracts between sites for RMO positions only. If you are preferencing a position with WA Country Health Service, you will also be asked to rank your preferred sites. Please note that your 3 hospital preferences cannot be changed after the applications close. You will then be asked to enter your employment details such as where you've completed your internship, your current employment exam, qualifications or training programs, and breaks in service. In the supporting documents section, you must upload your selection criteria response, CV, and cover letter. The final parts of the application involve listing your 2 referees, your training intentions, and a declaration that you understand the pre-employment requirements. Depending on your answers to the application questions, you may be prompted to upload other documentations to your application. The system will request the information that is required. We recommend starting your applications early to give yourself time to prepare your application and any required documents. You will not be able to progress your application until all mandatory fields have been completed. You are able to save your application and revisit it at any time before closing date. Just remember to click Submit when you are finished. If you make any changes, make sure to save and resubmit your application again, or your changes will not be submitted. Here are some MedJobs WA application tips. Firstly, do not create a new profile on MedJobs WA if you have previously made a profile. This is most important if you are currently on an existing 3-year WA Health contract and are wishing to remain at your current site. If you do create a new profile, you will be prompted to complete a full application. If your current MedJobs WA contact email address is an university email address, then log into your profile and update the listed email address to a current email address. If you're having difficulties with this, then please contact the MedJobs WA team on medjobswa@health.wa.gov.au. Ensure that the contact details on your MedJobs WA profile is always up to date. If you are having trouble progressing your application, try opening it on a different browser. We recommend Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge when using MedJobs WA website. Prepare your documents ahead of time and start your applications early. There are multiple sections on MedJobs WA application process and it can be time consuming if you are not prepared. Remember that late applications are not accepted. Submit your applications with plenty of time. Applications that are not submitted due to internet failure or browser issues cannot be accepted. I will now hand over to Dr. Das Meshron and Dr. Marcel Nejitian, who will be walking you through some important application documents.
Thanks for the introduction and for inviting us to speak. I'm Marcel, this is Das. We are the PMC WA JMO Education Representatives for 2023. For those of you who don't know PMC WA, we're the Postgraduate Medical Council of WA. Our purpose is really to support and advocate for graduate doctors, and we do so in four main roles. One is leadership and governance, two is ensuring accreditation of internship and resident positions, and then three is supporting educational opportunities for junior doctors. Four is providing career guidance and support for transitioning up from the junior doctor role into training programs. So today we'll be going through the approach to applying for resident and service registrar terms. And we'll be going through a couple main things. So cover letters, CVs, selection criteria, and referees. And we think these are good things to go through because there's things that we haven't really ever been taught about in med school. So starting with the cover letter. Now, when I was younger, I always got excited when it came to jobs that didn't explicitly state you needed a cover letter. And let's be honest, who wants to do more work when you're applying for a job? But now that I'm a bit older, a bit wiser, I've realized that cover letters are an extremely useful way to make you stand out in an application. And this is because it lets you talk directly to your employer and let them know why you're a good fit for the job. As opposed to a CV, which is much more impersonal. So for example, when I applied for an RMO job at Royal Perth Hospital, I was able to explain that me having done a 6-week trauma elective term during medical school gave me some valuable experience that would make me a useful member of the team at the State Trauma Centre. And this is the sort of information that can't be conveyed readily in a CV. So the cover letter also lets you highlight other things such as specific requirements that you require in a job. For example, if you only want to work part-time or if you only want a 1-year contract, you can highlight those in the cover letter. So that's why it's useful with that regard. I would say always aim for a 1-page cover letter. 2 pages is the absolute maximum. No one wants to be reading a life story, so keep it nice, concise, and succinct. So the cover letter, so the general structure, have your name, qualifications, and contact details either at the top or near the bottom, just somewhere on the page that they can easily read it. Usually have the title of the position next, so what position you're applying to, and then address the letter to your employer. So if you know their specific name, that's great. If you say, Dear Dr. So-and-so, otherwise address it to the hospital's medical workforce department. It just makes it more personal. The first paragraph should talk about who you are, so introduce yourself, and why you want the role. Now, some people argue against spending too much time talking about why you want a role, but you should definitely use this paragraph to highlight specific passions about the role. So you need to find reasons that you want to go to this hospital in particular, whether it's specific mentors that are there, whether it's specific rotations that you're passionate about. So for me, I highlighted my interest in trauma surgery when I applied to Royal Perth Hospital. The next 1 to 2 paragraphs, or even sometimes 3 paragraphs, form the bulk of the letter. And it really is talking about what you can bring to the role and what makes you stand out. The first sentence of each paragraph should always signpost what you'll be talking about in the paragraph. And then later on, you expand on that topic a bit, why the knowledge or skills you have might be useful in the role. It's really important not to just state that you have a particular skill, but to provide a good example that demonstrates that skill and why it's useful. So for example, instead of saying, I have good leadership skills, talk about an example during your intern year where you demonstrated good leadership and how this led to a positive outcome, and therefore relate that to how it could be useful as a resident. If you're stuck and don't know what to talk about, we recommend using something called the CAMP framework. And this helps guide you about what main quality skills that employers are looking for in doctors. CAMP stands for clinical skills, academic skills, management skills, and personal skills. Another approach is to use a chronological approach where you talk about your journey through medical school and how your learning experiences down the line have made you an ideal doctor for the role. Lastly, it is a letter after all, so make sure you sign off properly, and that includes thanking the employer for considering your application and taking the time to process it. So this is a good snippet from a cover letter. You will notice up the top he's clearly stated who they're writing the letter to. They then put the date that the letter was written, and then they stated clearly what job they're applying to. So I know these three things might seem minor, but it really goes a long way to making sure you've put some thought and detail into the cover letter, and it makes it look cleaner. Then there's the first paragraph, which is an example of what to write in your first paragraph. Obviously, this will vary by what type of role you're applying to, but it should highlight why you're passionate about that role. So moving on to the CV, most people should know by now what a CV is, but to recap, it's a good way to present your knowledge and skills relevant to a particular job. I won't go through the nitty-gritty details of each point on the CV, but I'll give some tips that I've found useful when I've been applying to jobs. Always have your personal details up the top. I think Das will talk about this a bit further, but include at least 2 contact details, email address and a mobile number. Have a good succinct structure and have appropriate headings. And you need to put the most appropriate headings up the top. So for most jobs, this means your qualifications, for example, your degrees, comes up the top, followed by your work experience and your work history, and that should be in reverse chronological order. The remaining order completely depends on the job, and you should tailor it to the job. So for example, when I applied to a teaching job, I made sure that my educational experiences and my teaching experiences, that heading came next. When I was applying for a research job, I made sure my research experience came next. As a general rule, if something on your CV, you feel it makes you particularly stand out, you need to make sure it's on that first page. Okay, even if this means you have to intermix categories or headings, it should be on that first page. So for example, if you've won a prestigious award in medical school, normally this will come under an awards category, which is normally lower down the list. But if you think it's very relevant to the position you're applying to, or the particular job you're applying to, you could move it so that it's under your degree, Doctor of Medicine, and then a point underneath that says, graduated with the top score in dermatology, if you're applying for a dermatology position or a dermatology RMO role. Keep the CV short, maximum of 3 pages, and then end with referees. And always, always, always make sure for both your cover letter, your CV, and your selection criteria, once you've finished it, you read over it. Sometimes you get in a mindset, you type things and you haven't realized what you typed, you go back and read it and you say, that sounds a bit strange. Or you pick up things like typos, that it's not succinct, and you pick up on things that you can correct. The other thing I would recommend is having friends and family look at it, particularly if they're in the medical field, having a look, and they can provide some tips and feedback as well. So that pretty much, this slide just pretty much sums up what I've mentioned. So make sure the headings and skills that are relevant to the job are listed first. The other thing is to provide objective evidence for every statement you make. So for example, if you said, you could say, I've created a scoring tool used on 300 patients. You could say, I presented to 121 delegates at a conference. You could say, I did a study on 130 patients and it's published in this journal, which has this impact factor. So you quantify things, and that makes it more appealing and more useful to the employers. I'll now hand over to Das, who has a few more tips on the CV, and then he'll talk about selection criteria and references.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Marcel. So appreciate it. So now we're going to move on to sort of CV format. Just like your cover letter, we want to keep it nice and simple, okay? So in trying to achieve this, there's some recommended fonts and some font sizes as well. So this is not something that I think a lot of people know of. So in terms of the fonts, there's certainly ones that have been proven to be more beneficial or easier for recruiters in industries, and they just kind of prefer. So these include things like Georgia, Helvetica, and the Tahoma fonts. And for the font size, we've got some recommended guidelines out there, but just remember the purpose is to keep it clear and to have a nice visual structure, and so you make it very easy to read, okay? So the most important thing as well, like we mentioned on your sort of cover letter earlier, is have your name, have your other contact details such as your email address and your mobile phone number, and these should be at the sort of very top of the page, okay? So along with this, we want to make sure that the headings as well, they're there in terms of what you've got. So like I was saying, so along with the headings, so we previously touched on, you want to make sure you've got things like your experience, your research, and your volunteering. And they'll be in slightly smaller sizes, and then within each category as well, you want your information that's slightly smaller. So there's no, hard and fast rules, but like we're saying, make sure it's clear, make sure it's easy to read, and it's all easy to follow, okay? So The other thing to make it very easy as well, apart from the font sizes, is to have consistent formatting throughout your entire CV. Now, this would mean that you've got the same spacing between lines and also the same spacing between actual sections as well. For instance, so tend to include the year of when you're having things all in sort of one line in the corner, and make sure it's all in the exact same section, and ideally on the same page as well. This just makes it very easy for the people who are reading it just to look up and down, pick out the information that they need, and just see what's really important, what's really relevant, okay? So in terms of a few more tips now, so we've got an example CV here, and so as you can see at the very top, in the middle of the page, we've included the name, and underneath we've got all the details that we've mentioned previously. And then under each heading, you can easily identify what's going to be talked about, and then the body of the text just expands on this a little bit further. So for example, if you look at the education section, they've got the education heading, and then underneath that they've got all the things relevant to the education section. So you've got your medical degree there, your bachelor's degree, and then within each of that, all the relevant information from there. Now, you can also include things like scores and stuff in this area, but again, make it clear, make it simple, and make it very easy to follow. Now, in terms of other things, just remember, like we mentioned, the spacing between each part should be equal, the spacing between each section should be equal as well. And again, this just makes it very easy, very simple to digest for anyone who's sort of looking at them. So moving on now to the actual selection criteria. So this is quite important, and unless it's specifically stated, it's usually around a 500-word limit. It's really important because, you know, like most things in the CV, you're trying to talk about what makes it important. You're demonstrating your skills, your experience, and why you're sort of applying for this role. So instead of making claims about yourself, like we've mentioned previously, you need to be able to back those claims up once again. So make sure you talk about relevant examples instead of just saying, you know, I'm a good communicator, or I have this skill. Show us why you have it, show the people why you have it. It just makes it a lot easier for you and everyone else. So along with those relevant examples, you want to use your active first-person voice, such as I negotiate, I liaise, things like that. So just use those things instead of saying I was involved in this project, or I was responsible for, you know, X, Y, Z. It just makes it a lot easier, and it makes you look a lot more better in terms of what you've done. So there's also an approach you can use. It's called the STAR approach, kind of like the approach we've talked about previously. So the S is the situation. So you describe the situation, the relevant criteria that, you know, is being asked. The T is the task, A is the actions that you've used, and R is the sort of overarching result that kind of came out of what you've seen. So finally here, we've just got a bit more about the selection criteria and some general tips. So you want to give yourself plenty of time to do this. Don't do it last minute. It causes a lot of stress. You're not going to write the best thing that you possibly could. Make sure you also carefully check the criteria, break them down, make sure that you know exactly what you're kind of writing for. That's really important. So all of this is generally written in the job description, and this is where the selection criteria is included. And make sure you address it all before, instead of just signing off and saying I've done all these things in the past. So again, use those relevant examples. Make sure, like Marcel said previously, once you finished it, also proofread it yourself, give it to someone else, give it to a couple of people so they can read it as well. It just makes sure that you haven't missed anything, or you're not reading something differently as someone who hasn't written it would say. So in addition to this, you just want to ask yourself, am I also answering the question specifically? You don't want to waffle around. You've only got 500 words, and you really want to make sure that you're clear, you're succinct, and you're breaking down the criteria for each point. So, for example, if the example demonstrates and says you're a good communicator in a clinical setting, then make sure you use two examples: one that shows you're a good communicator, and one that shows that it's in a clinical setting. And it sounds very intuitive, but sometimes it's those things that people miss, and that's what can really make the difference. So after all, I guess when you're writing all of this, you want to make yourself, once you've written it, look back at it, ask yourself, critically look at what you've written. Why did you include this? Is it really relevant? Does it need to be there? And is it going to actually add value to my sort of application and in my CV and what people are looking at it? So hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. That's most of the information, or that's all the information that we have today. So Marcel and I would just like to thank PMCWA one more time for just giving us the opportunity to speak to yourselves and providing you with this information. And we wish you all the best with your application moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. Das and Dr. Marcel, for that amazing presentation and the helpful advice on how to strengthen your CV, cover letter, and selection criteria. We greatly appreciate the time you have taken to support our applicants. Now let's have a look at the last important part of your application, which is your referees. You'll be asked to provide the details of 2 clinical referees. Make sure that at least one of them is a recent previous clinical supervisor within the last 12 months. Make sure that you ask for their approval before listing someone as a referee. Unlike other recruitment processes where referees are typically contacted at the end of the process, in this centralized recruitment, your referees may be contacted at any time from the application closing date. You can check on MedJobs WA if your referee has been sent a request and whether they have submitted a report. You can do this by logging into MedJobs WA, opening your application, and opening the referee section. In the referee section, if you see not sent, it means a report has not been sent. If you see no, it means that the referee has been contacted but no report has been received. And if you see yes, it means the referee has submitted a report. Most importantly, check and provide correct contact details for your referees. Our team receives hundreds of emails due to outdated or incorrect email addresses. This may result in delays of your application being assessed or considered for offers. I will now hand over to Cassie McIntyre from the WA Country Health Service Medical Education team to discuss the rural pathways available in Western Australia.
Welcome to the Rural Pathways presentation. My name is Cassie and I work in the Central Medical Education Office. This session will cover information relating to the 2024 Resident Medical Officer positions and rotations available at WACS. I will briefly cover the sites you can apply to for these positions and how to apply, how you can complete a WACS rotation and from which metropolitan sites, and the rural pathways and programs available through WACS. WACS RMO positions are available to PGY2 plus doctors, either as a primary employer for a period of 6 to 36 months or via secondment at some metropolitan sites. Through the centralised recruitment process, you can apply for WACS RMO positions at Albany, Broome, Bunbury, Geraldton and Kalgoorlie. The following is an overview of the WACS RMO positions for 2024. I'd also like to expand on the unique opportunities that are available at each site. Broome has a highly sought after primary care placement with Royal Flying Doctors Service and the Kimberley Aboriginal Medical Service. Geraldton has a public health rotation. Kalgoorlie has an amazing paediatrics rotation. Bunbury has a primary care placement with Southwest Aboriginal Medical Service. And Albany has a highly regarded palliative care and paediatrics rotation and a primary care placement with Pioneer GP Women's Health. You apply for WACS RMO positions through the centralised recruitment process. Applications to apply to this RMO centralised pool will open via MedJobs WA from the 19th of May 2023. Rank your preferred WACS site. You will need to rank a minimum of 2. When submitting your CV and selection criteria, we highly recommend that you provide a cover letter so you can include any supporting or general information you would like the selection panel to know. Make sure you express why you are interested in a rural position and or rural career. Let us know of any links to country, personal and professional. If you have limited rural experience, we still encourage you to apply. We suggest you focus on your future intentions and explain why you are now exploring a rural career or experience. Please use the QR code to find further information regarding 2024 recruitment. If you're already working at WACS on a 2 to 3 year contract, you will need to do the following. If you wish to stay at your current site, rank 1 against your current hospital. You will still need to rank 2 sites as this is built into MedJobs WA, but you'll be guaranteed to stay at your current site if that is what you wish to do. If you wish to stay at WACS but move to a different WACS site, rank your desired WACS site by putting 1 in the columns. You do not have to complete any selection criteria or complete a full application. However, if you'd like to attach an updated CV and a recent term assessment, there is a supporting document section that you can use to do this. If you will be or are employed at a metro site, indicate your interest in completing a rural rotation. Once you successfully in gaining a contract with your chosen Metro PES, you'll then be asked to rank your preferred allocation or rotations. This is your opportunity to request which and how many rural terms you'd like to complete. Another option for rural rotations is through the Community Residency Program, CRP. Successful rural CRP RMOs are provided the opportunity to participate in short-term, well-supervised training placements in a variety of rural settings across WA. During this placement, RMOs will spend a minimum of 20% of their time in a community setting, for example, outpatients, remote outreach clinics, private GPs, Aboriginal medical services. In 2024, RMOs employed by Fiona Stanley Hospital, Royal Perth Hospital or Sir Charles Gardner Hospital are seconded to undertake CRP placements in a variety of rural locations. These include Kununurra and Derby, Karratha, Geraldton, Kalgoorlie, Esperance and Narrogin. Please refer to the website via the QR code for further information regarding the Community Residency Program. The Community Residency Program is advertised in MedJobs WA separately to the RMO centralised recruitment process. Please note you will still need to apply and confirm your employment through the RMO recruitment process, but you can additionally apply for the Rural Community Residency Program. RMOs applying for or with a full-time position at Fiona Stanley Hospital, Royal Perth Hospital and Sir Charles Gardner Hospital in 2024 will need to express their interest in a rural CRP placement on a separate MedJobs WA vacancy. Please include in your application a CV and a short statement of interest outlining why you'd like to participate in a rural CRP placement, the skills you bring and how your future career will benefit. These will be reviewed by the panel and used to assess your rural CRP application. Placements will be offered from mid-October 2023 for the 2024 clinical year. Next, I will cover the programs and pathways that are available at WACS. The Workplace-Based Assessment WEPA program is an alternative to completing the clinical examination component of the Australian Medical Council AMC Standard Assessment Pathways for International Medical Graduates, IMGs. WACS WEPA candidates undertake the program over 12 months and on successful completion are eligible for the AMC certificate. To apply, candidates must have a 12-month employment contract and an accredited WACS site. These sites are Bunbury, Geraldton and Kalgoorlie. Doctors interested in this program should preference these three sites in the centralised recruitment process. Once successful in gaining a 12-month WACS contract at one of these sites, doctors will then be invited to apply to the WBA program. Please refer to the WBA website via the QR code for further information. Aspire is a 2-year program for WACS junior doctors PGY3+, who are interested in pursuing a career as a rural general surgeon. Upon completion of the program, candidates will be well placed to apply for the General Surgical Training Program with the Royal Australian College of Surgeons. The Aspire program is run at Albany Health Campus and Bunbury Hospital. Recruitment for 2024 has now closed. Please refer to the Aspire flyer via the QR code for further information. RAPTA is a 12-month program for WACS junior doctors PGY2+, who are interested in rural physician training. The program aims to provide the successful candidate with relevant term rotations at WACS sites and professional development to help prepare them for basic physician training. In 2024, RAPTA will be available at the following WACS sites: Albany Health Campus, Bunbury Hospital, Geraldton Regional Hospital, Kalgoorlie Health Campus. Recruitment for 2024 positions has now closed. Please refer to the RAPTA flyer via the QR code for further information. WACS joined the highly sought-after Clinical Service Improvement Program in 2019, and we have since expanded to the following sites: Albany, Bunbury, Broome and Geraldton. Facilitated in partnership with the Institute for Health Leadership, successful candidates are able to undertake an end-to-end service improvement program at their WACS site. This enables participants to acquire skills in leadership, change and project management. Rural Psychiatry Training WA, accredited by the Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Psychiatrists, is the first ever dedicated rural training zone in Australia and New Zealand. The program, overseen by WACS, provides end-to-end psychiatry training, allowing trainees to remain in regional WA from internship through to fellowship. The John Flynn Pre-Vocational Doctor Program offers a 10 to 11 week primary rural rotation. To participate in the JFPDP, an applicant must be an Australian citizen or permanent resident and a WACS-employed pre-vocational junior doctor in postgrads year 1 to 5. In 2024, rotations will be offered at these primary care organisations: Pioneer Health Albany, with junior doctors seconded from the Albany Health Campus; Southwest Aboriginal Medical Service, with junior doctors seconded from the Bunbury Regional Hospital; Kimberley Aboriginal Medical Service and the Royal Flying Doctors Service, with junior doctors seconded from the Broome Health Campus. In addition to these, the following new rotations are planned for 2024. Panacea Medical, with junior doctors seconded from Geraldton Health Campus; Southern Forest Medical Centre; and Health by Nurture, with junior doctors seconded from the Bunbury Regional Hospital. Please refer to the QR code for further information. Rural generalists bring a wealth of skills and experience to diverse communities and locations in which they practice. The Rural Generalist Pathway WA Coordination Team has been established to help to facilitate the transition for rural generalist trainees through the various educational and training components for the first 6 years of postgraduate training. Visit the Rural Generalist Pathway WA website via the QR code to find out more about the pathway, support services, and how to apply. You can access further information regarding working with WACS or any of the pathways I've touched on using the QR codes found throughout this presentation. If you would like any more information about the application process to WACS, please contact our unit via the details on this slide. Thank you, and we wish you all the best with your application.
Thank you, Cassie, for that amazing presentation and information on the great rural pathways and positions that WACS has to offer. Now let's have a quick look at these other recruitment processes. There are 2 community residency programs in WA. We have already heard about the Rural Community Residency Program from Cassie earlier, who provided a good overview of the program and the range of locations available. Please refer back to that information if you're interested in rural CRP. Another program available to RMOs is the Metropolitan Community Residency Program, which is on offer through Silver Chain. The applications for this will open on 17th of July 2023. A term at Silver Chain provides RMOs with a rich and diverse experience of medical care in the community with a patient-centered approach. These placements provide an opportunity for RMOs to practice independently using their clinical judgment in decision-making while being supported by the Silver Chain doctors. There are 2 streams available: palliative care and hospital in the home. This is one of the only opportunities available to RMOs to experience community care in a metropolitan setting prior to making a vocational decision. To be eligible for Metropolitan Community Residency term, you must have a 2024 RMO contract at one of the participating hospitals: Royal Perth Hospital, Sir Charles Gardner Hospital, or Fiona Stanley Hospital. More information about both of these programs are available on the PMCW webpage. The GP Hospital Training Pathway was successfully implemented as a pilot between January 2020 and December 2022, and due to its success has now transitioned to business as usual. Intent of the GP Pathway is to raise the profile of GP training, optimize GP training in WA hospitals, and provide GP suitable rotations that support preparation for community GP training. GP suitable rotations are provided by each participating health service. Rotations vary by health service and are available in the GP Pathway Framework 2024. This can be found on the GP Pathway Information web page. To be eligible for GP Pathway in 2024, new applicants must have an RMO employment contract at a participating health service for 2024. Participating health services include WA Country Health Service, Fiona Stanley Fremantle Hospital Group, Sir Charles Gardner Osborne Park Healthcare Group, King Edward Memorial Hospital, Royal Perth Bentley Group, Child and Adolescent Health Services, St John of God Midland, and Joondalup Health Campus. The applicants must also plan to apply for Australian General Practice Training, AGPT, or Rural Generalist Training Scheme, RGTS, before the end of 2023. This is the AGPT RGTS intake for 2024. GP Pathway Expressions of Interest will open on 17th of July 2023, and the EOI link will be on the GP Pathway webpage. Now let's take a look at basic physician training. Entry into adult basic physician training is a separate selection process which opens later this year. Candidates must hold an offer of employment from either Fiona Stanley Fremantle Hospital Group, Royal Perth Bentley Group, Sir Charles Gardner Osborne Park Healthcare Group, or the WA Country Health Service for the full 2024 clinical year to be eligible to apply. This selection process is also held through the MedJobs WA portal. To be eligible for basic training in pediatric and child health, candidates seeking to register as a first-year basic pediatric trainee are first required to secure employment for 12 months with Perth Children's Hospital as a RMO or a registrar, or secure employment for 12 months with Fiona Stanley Hospital as a pediatric or neonatal registrar. Prospective trainees who have accepted eligible employment will be informed of the BPT selection process by the Perth Children's Hospital Postgraduate Medical Education team. Centralised recruitment for service surgical registrars also open on Friday 19th of May 2023. This year, successful candidates will be employed directly by their highest preferenced primary employing health service. The full list of employing health services and available specialities are noted on the advertisement and on the application guide on MedJobs WA. Applications close on 20th June 2023. And finally, here are some important contact details for this recruitment process. If you have any questions about this centralized recruitment, our team is here to help. We can be reached on email via medicalrecruitment@health.wa.gov.au. Remember, the application guide is your friend and has a lot of information and frequently asked questions, so be sure to check if that covers your query. If you have technical issues with MedJobs WA portal, please contact the MedJobs WA support team on medjobswa@health.wa.gov.au. If you have any questions about the health service or hospital side or employment queries, please contact the medical workforce teams at the participating sites. Their email address can be found on the advertisement on MedJobs WA and in the application guide. So that's it. That brings us to the end of this presentation today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope this has been helpful. Like I said before, if you have any questions at all, then please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are more than happy to help. And with that, we wish you all the very best with your application, and we look forward to you joining or continuing your medical career with us in WA Health in 2024. Thank you.